Hi, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Inner Notes podcast. I'm really glad to have you here. I hope you're having a great day and I hope you're enjoying this season so far. So, because the focus of this season is purpose and finding your gift and bringing it to life, I thought it would be very important to discuss how to master self discipline because whether we like it or not, it is actually one of the keys to bringing our dreams, let's say our vision, into reality. A lot of times we get so carried away with the visions we have in our head, but then we take very little action to actually make those visions a reality. When I was thinking about this topic and scripting this video, there was one sentence that specifically came to mind, and that sentence is one that I first heard in one of Dr. Masmoro's speeches. And if you've listened to the previous episodes, you know I've listened to a lot of preachings and motivational speeches, and this was just another one of those very light bulb moment sentences for me at least. And I remember in this speech he said something along the lines of, do you still tolerate your current circumstances? Because as long as you tolerate your current circumstances, you will never make any change. And I remember when I first heard it, I didn't feel like I completely agree. I'm not gonna lie, because I thought, well, that's a bit extreme, isn't it? I mean, maybe you don't like your current circumstances, so you try to take action to change them. But I'll be honest, as I went on with my life, and I guess maybe as I got wiser, I don't know, as I grew up, I realized that that is actually very true. Because a lot of times we complain about our situations, our circumstances, we might complain about our job or we might complain about certain people in our lives, but then we don't do anything to change it and we just keep complaining about it. And many times, actually, it might be because as much as we don't like that situation, the job, or the people, we are comfortable within that circumstance. We are comfortable in that scenario, even though we don't like it. And we are comfortable because we are familiar with it. And it's a lot more difficult to push ourselves into the unfamiliar, regardless of how much we might dislike our current situation. And so, the question I would ask myself, and the question I think you should ask yourself, if you are trying to make that vision, turn that vision God gave you into a reality, is, do you still tolerate your current circumstances? Do you say you don't like your job, but do you still tolerate it? Are you still comfortable within it? Do you say you don't like your financial situation, but you still tolerate it? And you're still comfortable within it because you feel too afraid to step outside of your comfort zone. And linked to this, I think, is very relevant to ask ourselves, what is our why? So we want to do something, there's a goal we want to achieve, there's a vision we want to bring to life, but why do you want to do it? Because together with being tired of the circumstances you currently live in, which by the way doesn't mean being ungrateful. You can be grateful of the circumstances in your life, what you have in your life right now, but you might also want to get more, to do more, to be more. And that's fine. I don't think not tolerating something anymore means not being grateful for it. You can be grateful for it, but also realize that you can go one step above. And in that sense, figuring out your why is very important because the truth is, whenever you get started working on something, this is something I've personally experienced a lot in these 5 years of trying to start this podcast, is that motivation fluctuates. Motivation fluctuates a lot, and we all know this because motivation is a feeling at the end of the day. You have those days where you feel super motivated, you're super charged, you get started, do 100 things, and then the next day you're not motivated, you don't feel like doing anything, and so you get nothing done. The problem is that when you rely on motivation, then you will get very little done. At least you will get very little progress, because as motivation fluctuates, then you do and you stop doing, and so it's very difficult to progress in this sense. So if you want to master self-discipline, I think one of the first key questions is to ask yourself whether you still tolerate your circumstances, whether you're still comfortable within them, and also ask yourself, what is your why? Because when motivation lacks, then you can remind yourself why you are doing this, and that can help you exercise self-discipline. Otherwise, if you don't know, then it's going to be very difficult for you to remind yourself why you should do it. Also, I think one of the biggest challenges in exercising self-discipline is that a lot of times we are so focused on our current circumstances that we find it difficult to exercise self-discipline because we almost don't believe that we are going to be successful. And I don't mean successful in the sense of becoming famous or stuff like that. I just mean being successful in whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. And because we aren't as much focused on the vision and we almost don't believe that we could actually achieve it, then it is very difficult to exercise self-discipline, because that's when a lot of negative self-talk actually comes in, saying, do you really think you are going to achieve this? Imagine you're putting all of this effort into doing this thing and then nothing actually happens, or you are not able to do it. And so it is very important to, while we still live in the present, to focus on the vision. And whenever we find it hard to do the tasks that we have decided to do, to remind ourselves, first of all, why we want to do it, and second of all, remind ourselves of the vision and have faith in the vision that God has given you. On a more practical side, I think one of the best things you can do to really exercise self-discipline in your life for whatever task it is that you're trying to achieve or project you're trying to complete is to build habits that are aligned with the goals you have. There's a book I was reading a while ago. You probably have heard it because it's quite well known. It's called Atomic Habits. And I would say it's an extremely insightful book on building good, solid, useful, and helpful habits. And it's very interesting because the author actually goes into the psychology of human beings and how our mind works in relation to building good habits and breaking bad ones. And I think it's very interesting to understand how these things work. And so in that sense, from a practical point of view, it is essential that you build habits that are aligned with your goals. So for example, if your goal is to write a book, then you can build into your day a habit of writing 30 minutes a day, which is not a crazy thing if you think about it. It's just half an hour or maybe even 15 minutes. Or if you have a goal of wanting to lose weight, you could build a habit of trying to hide high calorie stuff in your pantry or not buying them, or walking 15 minutes a day instead of taking the bus or going by car. It's these kind of things. They're small things, but like I said in one of the previous episodes, compound growth is really powerful. And so if you are able to build habits that are aligned with the goals you have, the vision you have that you want to achieve, then that is going to help you stay consistent, and it's going to make it easier to exercise self-discipline. One of the things that the author mentioned in the book Atomic Habits is that humans usually go for the path of least resistance. And so the key to exercising self-discipline isn't really about how much willpower you have. It's more about, are you able to set up your life and your lifestyle in a way that makes it easier for you to do the right thing and for you to do the things that are going to bring you closer to your goals. I think this is one of the biggest takeaways I personally took from the book, because I thought it made a lot of sense. And if you think about it, if you have a vision or a plan of something you are trying to achieve, it is a lot easier to take smaller tasks, divide them up into your days, and make them a habit that over time build into actionable results, rather than trying to do one big task once in a month. And so in that sense, another very important thing I think to mastering self-discipline is minimizing distractions. So if you know that you get easily distracted by certain things, then try to keep them outside of your radar, let's say. And another thing actually that I remember now that I found very insightful from the Atomic Habits book was that of rewarding yourself after you have done the task that you had set out to do. So after you've exercised self-discipline. That way, it makes it easier to exercise self-discipline because you know that there's a reward at the end. And it's not just checking that on the to-do list. And the last thing I would mention that I've actually personally lived and experienced in my life recently is that you need to embrace discomfort. I think one of the biggest challenges to us as human beings exercising self-discipline, meaning knowing that we have to do something that is good for us, but struggling to do it because it's hard, is that we often are reluctant to put ourselves in situations where we are not comfortable. And so if you are willing to embrace the discomfort that it might be talking to a camera if you're trying to film videos, or writing drafts upon drafts upon drafts until you actually reach something that is decent, or going to the gym when you're not fit in order to get fit. If you are able to embrace that discomfort, then over time it will be easier to exercise self-discipline, because you will not see it as the enemy. You will not see it as something that you don't want to do but you have to, so you have to force yourself. You will see it as an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to challenge yourself, an opportunity to learn new skills and improve your overall self. It's a very difficult thing to do, this one, definitely. I am still learning how to embrace discomfort, because I think as humans, we are creatures of comfort. We naturally just seek comfortable situations. But I think the more you get used to being uncomfortable, then the easier it will be to step out of your comfort zone, to start working on your vision, start working on your goals, and actually seeing results over time. So I really hope this video has been useful to you, and that it has given you some useful ideas into what you can do to better exercise self-discipline, how to master self-discipline, to start working on your goals, start working on the vision that God has given you for your life, and start seeing results, start seeing a change for the better. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you on the next one.